The twin suns of Zorith blazed down on the arena, their golden light casting sharp shadows across the angular structures of the alien city. The amphitheater, carved from gleaming obsidian and reinforced with alien alloys, thrummed with the energy of thousands of spectators. Their voices, a cacophony of clicks, roars, and guttural growls, echoed through the air as they awaited the arrival of the participants. On this day, a spectacle was promised. On this day, a decision would be made. At the center of the arena, a platform rose slowly, its metallic surface gleaming. Standing atop it were 5 humans, their faces grim yet defiant. Captain Juno Vega, a tall, broad-shouldered woman with piercing gray eyes, stood at the forefront, her posture radiating an unshakable confidence. Her team stood behind her, Vex, a wiry engineer whose quick fingers could dismantle an alien weapon faster than most could fire it. Hallie, a linguist and strategist whose sharp mind had kept them alive through countless close calls. Roan, a towering soldier armed with a custom plasma rifle that hummed faintly at his side. And finally, Samara, their medic, whose steady hands had patched up wounds no one else could handle. Surrounding them were the Vorthaki, the ruling species of this sector of the galaxy. Towering, insected beings with chitinous exoskeletons and multifaceted eyes, the Vorthaki were both terrifying and regal in appearance. Their leader, Archon Troll, stood on a raised dais overlooking the arena, his iridescent carapace shimmering in the sunlight. In one clawed hand, he held the ceremonial staff of judgment, its end tipped with a pulsating crystal that seemed to radiate malice. "We stand before you, humans," Troll's voice boomed, reverberating through the amphitheater. His words, translated by embedded neural implants, carried a tone of both disdain and curiosity. "Your kind, fragile and weak, has defied us for decades. Yet here you are, presenting yourselves in this most sacred of rites." Juno stepped forward, her chin held high. "We're here because you gave us no choice," she said, her voice carrying over the din of the crowd. "Tribute or annihilation, that's the choice you offered. But humanity doesn't bend so easily." The crowd erupted into a mixture of jeers and laughter. The idea of humans standing against the Vorthaki was absurd to them, an act of defiance that bordered on suicidal. Troll's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "Brave words, Captain Vega. But words do not sway the tides of war. Actions do. You have entered the trial of fealty, a sacred tradition among our people. Succeed, and your world may be spared. Fail, and humanity will become a distant memory." Juno's eyes narrowed. "What are the rules?" Troll gestured toward a large, ornate gate at the far end of the arena. "The trial is simple: survive. Beyond that gate lies the gauntlet, a series of challenges designed to test your strength, intelligence, and will. Few survive. None have triumphed." "Good," Roan muttered, tightening his grip on his rifle. "I was worried this might be too easy." Juno shot him a glance that silenced any further commentary. She turned back to Troll. "And if we survive?" Troll's multifaceted eyes gleamed. "Then we shall consider your species worthy of negotiation." The gate began to rumble open, revealing a dark tunnel that seemed to stretch endlessly into the earth. The crowd's excitement reached a fever pitch as they chittered and roared, eager to see the humans meet their doom. Juno turned to her team, her voice low but firm. "We've faced worse odds before. Stay close, stay sharp, and remember, they expect us to fail. Let's prove them wrong." The tunnel was eerily silent, the only sounds the faint hum of their equipment, and the steady echo of their footsteps against the metallic floor. The air grew cooler as they descended, the oppressive heat of the suns replaced by a chilling dampness that seeped into their bones. "This place is massive," Beck said, his eyes scanning the walls with a handheld scanner. "Whatever this gauntlet is, it's not just some primitive death trap. The energy signatures I'm picking up are advanced." Hallie frowned. "Advanced how?" "Advanced as in we're probably walking into some alien death maze," Bex replied. "Think shifting walls, automated defenses, maybe a few nasty surprises." "Great," Roan said, his tone laced with sarcasm. "My favorite kind of party." Juno ignored the banter, her focus entirely on the path ahead. Her instincts told her that the Vorthaki weren't just testing their physical abilities. This was a psychological game as much as it was a trial of survival. They wanted to break them, to prove that humanity wasn't worthy of standing among the stars. The tunnel opened into a vast chamber, its walls lined with glowing panels that pulsed rhythmically, casting strange patterns of light and shadow. In the center of the room stood a monolithic structure, its surface covered in alien runes that seemed to shift and writhe like living things. "What is that?" Samara asked, her voice tinged with unease. "It's a puzzle," Hallie said, stepping forward to study the runes. "Or a lock, maybe. The Vorthaki are known for their love of riddles." "Fantastic," Roan muttered. "We're playing alien Sudoku now." Hallie ignored him, her fingers tracing the patterns as she muttered to herself. "These symbols, they're connected to the Vorthaki's belief system. Strength, intellect, unity, they're testing us." "How do we pass?" Juno asked. Hallie turned to her, her expression grim. "We have to align the runes to reflect their ideals. But if we make a mistake..." The floor beneath them rumbled ominously, as if to underscore her point. "No pressure," Vex said, his tone strained. "Just solve the ancient alien riddle before the floor eats us." Juno nodded to Hallie. "You've got this. The rest of us will cover you." As Hallie worked, the others spread out, their weapons ready. The chamber was too quiet, the kind of quiet that made Juno's instincts scream that danger was imminent. She scanned the shadows, her finger hovering over the trigger of her rifle. Minutes stretched into an eternity, as Hallie manipulated the runes, each movement accompanied by a faint hum of energy. The tension in the room was palpable, the team's nerves stretched to the breaking point. Finally, Hallie stepped back, her face pale but triumphant. "It's done!" The monolith shuddered, its surface glowing brightly before splitting open to reveal a passageway. The team let out a collective breath of relief, but the moment was short-lived. From the shadows, alien drones emerged, sleek, insect-like machines armed with glowing plasma weapons. They moved with unnerving speed, their movements a blur as they converged on the team. "Contact!" Roan shouted, opening fire. The chamber erupted into chaos as the team fought to hold their ground. Plasma bolts streaked through the air, the drone's weapons cutting dangerously close. Roan's rifle roared as he took down one drone after another, his movements precise and unrelenting. Vex scrambled to deploy a makeshift EMP device, his hands moving with frantic precision. "Cover me!" Samara fired her pistol, her shots clipping the wings of an approaching drone. "Hurry, Vex!" With a shout, Vex activated the EMP, sending a pulse of energy rippling through the chamber. The drones shuddered and collapsed, their systems fried. The team stood amidst the wreckage, their breaths ragged and their bodies tense. Juno turned to Hallie. "How much farther?" Hallie glanced at the passageway ahead. "If the patterns hold, we're just getting started." Juno nodded, her expression steely. "Then let's keep moving. We're not here to play their game, we're here to win it." The passageway ahead felt like a descent into the abyss. The walls pulsed faintly with alien glyphs, their rhythmic glow casting unsettling shadows as the team moved cautiously forward. Every step echoed, a reminder of the vast, hollow labyrinth surrounding them. The hum of the monolith chamber still lingered in their ears, a reminder of the trials they'd already faced, and the challenges yet to come. Juno led the way, her rifle raised and her sharp eyes scanning for danger. Behind her, Vex muttered under his breath, his scanner flickering erratically as it struggled to interpret the complex energy signatures of the environment. "This whole place is alive," Vex said, his voice low but tense. "Not literally, but it's like it's reacting to us. The energy readings keep shifting, like it's adapting." Hallie glanced at him, frowning. "Adapting how?" "Hard to say," Vex replied. "But it's not random. It's watching us." Roan let out a low growl of frustration, his rifle resting against his shoulder. "Great. We're in a sentient death maze. Anyone else feel like we should have taken the tribute option?" "No one's paying tribute," Juno snapped, her tone sharp but controlled. "Focus. This isn't just a test of survival, It's a test of us. They're studying how we think, how we act under pressure. So let's show them we're not afraid. Her words steadied the team, their determination visible in the set of their jaws and the steadiness of their movements. But as they rounded a corner, the air grew colder, the faint glow of the walls replaced by an oppressive darkness. The corridor opened into another chamber, this one vastly different from the first. It was a sprawling expanse filled with towering spires of obsidian-like material, each one glowing faintly with inner light. Between the spires, shimmering fields of energy crackled like lightning, forming a deadly web. "What the hell is this?" Roan muttered, his eyes narrowing as he scanned the room. "It's a maze," Hallie said, stepping forward to study the energy fields. "And not just any maze, it's designed to trap us. Those fields are lethal." Vex knelt beside one of the spires, his scanner flickering as he analyzed the energy signature. "These aren't random. They're calibrated to specific frequencies. If we can disrupt them, we might be able to create a path through. And if we can't?" Samara asked, her tone grim. "Then we fry," Vex replied, his voice lacking its usual humor. Juno nodded. "Vex, get to work. Hallie, help him. Roan, you're on overwatch. Samara, stay ready, we don't know what else is hiding in here." The team sprang into action. Vex and Hallie worked quickly, their hands moving in perfect synchronization as they adjusted the spire's frequency modulators. Sparks flew as they rerouted circuits and bypassed alien mechanisms, the crackling energy field shifting unpredictably around them. "Careful," Vex warned as Hallie reached for a glowing node. "One wrong move, and we're toast." "No pressure," Hallie muttered, her fingers deftly manipulating the alien device. Meanwhile, Roan scanned the chamber with his rifle, his keen eyes watching for any sign of movement. The oppressive silence set his nerves on edge, every flicker of the energy fields making his trigger finger twitch. "Something's wrong," Roan said, his voice low. "This place is too quiet." As if in response, a deep, resonant hum filled the chamber. The spires began to pulse with brighter light, the energy fields growing more erratic and unstable. "They know we're here," Hallie said, her voice tight with urgency. "We've got to move faster." Vex cursed under his breath as his scanner beeped frantically. "We've got incoming! Multiple signatures, something big!" The ground trembled as a section of the chamber wall split open, revealing a towering construct of alien design. It was a mechanical behemoth, its insected form bristling with weapons and glowing with the same energy that powered the spires. The construct let out a deafening roar, its multiple limbs clattering against the floor as it advanced. "Figures," Roan muttered, raising his rifle. "Big shiny bug in a big shiny maze." Juno's voice cut through the chaos. "Hold the line! Keep it distracted while Vex and Hallie finish the override." The construct lunged forward, its claws slashing through the air as it unleashed a barrage of plasma bolts. Roan fired back, his shots precise and unrelenting, while Samara moved to his side, her pistol adding to the barrage. "Vex, how much longer?" Juno shouted, firing a burst into the construct's armored carapace. The shots barely scratched the surface. "Almost there," Vex replied, sweat dripping down his face as he worked. "Just keep it off us." The construct roared again, its glowing eyes locking onto the group. It unleashed a beam of searing energy, carving a jagged path through the chamber and forcing the team to scatter. Roan rolled behind a spire, firing a grenade into the construct's side. The explosion sent it staggering, but it quickly regained its footing, its weapons glowing with renewed energy. "Come on, you ugly piece of scrap!" Roan shouted, his voice filled with defiance. "Let's see what you've got." Juno darted between the spires, her movements swift and calculated as she fired at the construct's joints. "Samara, get ready to move! Vex, now would be a good time to work a miracle." "Got it!" Vex shouted, slamming his fist onto the control panel. The spires flickered, their energy fields collapsing in a cascade of sparks. A clear path opened through the maze, the crackling energy replaced by a faint, glowing trail. "Path's open!" Vex shouted. "Go, go, go!" The team sprinted toward the exit, the construct roaring in fury as it gave chase. Plasma bolts streaked past them, narrowly missing as the ground shook beneath their feet. Juno reached the exit first, turning to cover the team as they passed through. Roan was the last to cross, his rifle firing one last shot before the construct lunged toward him. The exit slammed shut, sealing the team inside a smaller passageway as the construct's roars echoed behind them. They leaned against the walls, their breaths ragged and their bodies trembling with exhaustion. "That," Roan said between gasps, "was too close." "Close is good enough," Juno replied, her voice steady despite the adrenaline still coursing through her veins. She turned to Vex and Hallie. "Good work. You saved us back there." Vex gave a tired grin. "Just doing my job." Hallie nodded, though her expression remained tense. "This isn't over. They're throwing everything they have at us." "Let them," Juno said, her eyes blazing with determination. "We're not here to survive their game. We're here to win it." The team pressed on, their resolve unshaken despite the trials they had faced. They knew the gauntlet would only grow more dangerous, but they also knew they couldn't stop. Humanity's survival depended on them, and failure wasn't an option. As they moved deeper into the labyrinth, the air grew colder, the oppressive silence broken only by the distant hum of unseen machinery. They were being watched, studied, but they didn't care. Whatever came next, they were ready. The passageway narrowed, forcing the team to move single file. The glow from the glyphs on the walls was fainter now, the light flickering sporadically as if the labyrinth itself were struggling to contain its power. Each step echoed ominously, the oppressive silence broken only by the faint hum of distant machinery. They knew the worst was yet to come. Juno Vega, as always, took the lead, her rifle steady and her eyes scanning the shadows. Behind her, Vex adjusted his scanner, muttering curses under his breath as he struggled to make sense of the erratic energy readings. Hallie, Samara, and Roan followed in tense silence, their weapons ready and their nerves stretched thin. "We're heading into something big," Vex said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. "The energy readings are spiking. Whatever's ahead, it's not friendly." Juno slowed her pace, raising a hand to signal the team to stop. "Hallie, any idea what we're walking into?" Hallie frowned, studying the faint glyphs on the wall. "These symbols, they're warnings. Something about balance and inevitability. I think this next challenge isn't just physical, it's a test of judgment." "Fantastic," Roan muttered, gripping his rifle tighter. "I love moral dilemmas in the middle of alien death mazes." Juno ignored the comment, her focus on the path ahead. "We'll deal with it like we've dealt with everything else. Stay sharp." The corridor opened into a massive, circular chamber, its ceiling disappearing into darkness. The floor was divided into a series of interconnected platforms, each one suspended over a seemingly endless void. At the center of the chamber stood a colossal, alien structure, a crystalline obelisk that pulsed with an ominous red light. Surrounding the obelisk were three smaller platforms, each one holding a pedestal with a glowing orb. "What now?" Vex asked, his voice tense. Before anyone could answer, the obelisk began to vibrate, its light intensifying. A deep, mechanical voice echoed through the chamber, its words translated into their neural implants. "You stand at the threshold of judgment. To proceed, you must restore balance. Choose wisely or be consumed by chaos." Juno's eyes narrowed. "Restore balance? What does that mean?" Hallie stepped forward cautiously, studying the orbs on the pedestals. Each one glowed with a different color, blue, green, and yellow, and emitted a faint hum that seemed to resonate with the obelisk. "These orbs are connected to the obelisk," Hallie said, her voice thoughtful. "It's some kind of energy distribution system. The balance it's talking about must involve aligning the orbs correctly. And if we get it wrong?" Roan asked. As if in answer, the platforms beneath their feet shuddered, and a section of the floor collapsed into the void. The message was clear: failure wasn't an option. "No pressure," Vex muttered. Hallie turned to Juno, her expression grim. "This is going to take time. I need to study the energy patterns to figure out the right alignment." You'll have it, Juno said firmly. She turned to the others. Roan, Vex, cover the entrances. Samara, stay with Hallie and keep her safe. I'll watch the platforms. The team moved into position, their weapons ready as Hallie began her work. She placed her hands on the pedestal with the blue orb, her brow furrowed in concentration as she studied the energy flow. The orbs are linked, Hallie explained, her voice steady despite the tension. Moving one affects the others. We need to align their energy outputs so they're perfectly balanced. Just don't take too long, Roan said, his rifle aimed at the nearest entrance. Something tells me we're not alone in here. As if on cue, a low, guttural growl echoed through the chamber. From the shadows, alien constructs emerged, sleek, predatory machines that moved with unsettling grace. Their angular frames glinted in the light of the obelisk, and their glowing red eyes locked onto the team. Contact! Roan shouted, opening fire. The constructs moved with blinding speed, their claws slicing through the air as they charged. Plasma bolts lit up the chamber as Roan and Vex unleashed a barrage of fire, their shots forcing the constructs to scatter. Keep them off us! Juno barked, firing at a construct that had leaped onto a nearby platform. The shot hit its mark, sending the machine tumbling into the void. Samara stayed close to Hallie, her pistol drawn as she fired at any constructs that got too close. Hallie, how's it coming? Almost there, Hallie replied, her fingers dancing across the pedestal as she adjusted the orb's positions. The obelisk pulsed with each movement, its light growing brighter as the energy began to stabilize. One of the constructs leaped onto their platform, its claws aimed for Hallie. Samara stepped in its path, firing a precise shot that struck its head and sent it crashing to the ground. Thanks, Hallie said breathlessly. Just focus, Samara replied. The constructs continued their relentless assault, their numbers seemingly endless. Roan gritted his teeth as he fired another grenade, the explosion taking out two of the machines but leaving him low on ammo. We can't hold them forever, Roan shouted. You won't have to, Hallie said, her voice filled with urgency. I've got it. She adjusted the final orb, and the obelisk's light shifted from red to a brilliant white. The constructs froze mid-charge, their glowing eyes dimming as the chamber was flooded with energy. One by one, the machines collapsed, their power drained. The platform stabilized, and a new passageway opened at the far end of the chamber. The mechanical voice returned, its tone cold but approving. Balance has been restored. You may proceed. The team regrouped, their breaths heavy and their bodies aching from the fight. Juno placed a hand on Hallie's shoulder. Good work. You saved us. Hallie managed a faint smile. Let's hope we don't have to do that again. Don't jinx it, Vex said, his scanner flickering as he adjusted it. The energy readings ahead are off the charts. Whatever's next, it's big. Juno nodded, her expression steely. Then let's finish this. The final passageway led to a massive, domed chamber. At its center stood a towering alien construct, a fusion of organic and mechanical design. Its surface pulsed with an otherworldly glow, and its many limbs moved with an almost sentient grace. It's a gatekeeper, Hallie said, her voice filled with dread. The final challenge. The construct's glowing eyes locked onto them, and a deep, resonant voice echoed through the chamber. Prove your worth or perish. Juno raised her rifle, her eyes blazing with determination. We've come too far to stop now. Let's end this. The construct let out a deafening roar, and the chamber erupted into chaos. The gatekeeper loomed above them, a mechanical monstrosity that seemed to pulse with raw energy. Its multiple limbs, lined with jagged, glowing appendages, moved with unnatural precision. Each step it took reverberated through the chamber, shaking the ground and rattling the humans to their core. Juno stood firm, her rifle raised and her gaze locked onto the towering construct. Everyone, stay focused, she shouted. This is it, the final test. We bring it down, or we don't leave at all. The construct emitted a low, resonant hum that vibrated through their bones. Without warning, it unleashed a burst of energy, sending arcs of lightning crashing into the floor. The humans scattered, narrowly avoiding the blasts as the gatekeeper advanced. "Cover me!" Vex shouted, darting behind a nearby pillar as he scrambled to analyze the construct's systems with his handheld scanner. "I need to figure out how this thing works." Roan didn't need to be told twice. He fired a volley of plasma rounds at the gatekeeper, his shots striking its outer shell with little effect. "This thing's armor is too thick. We're barely scratching it. We need to find a weak spot," Juno called out, her own shots carefully aimed at the construct's joints. Sparks flew as her rifle hit its target, but the damage was superficial at best. The gatekeeper retaliated with another energy burst, its limbs glowing brightly as it swung a massive appendage toward Roan. He dove out of the way just in time, the impact leaving a smoking crater where he'd been standing. Samara crouched behind a fragment of debris, her pistol at the ready. She fired at the construct's glowing core, her shots ricocheting harmlessly off its protective plating. "Vex, any day now." "I'm working on it," Vex snapped, his fingers flying across the scanner's interface. "This thing's systems are insanely complex. It's like it's alive." Hallie, crouched beside him, glanced at the glowing glyphs etched into the chamber walls. "It is alive in a sense. The Vorthaka use constructs like this as extensions of their will. If we can disrupt the connection, we shut it down," Vex finished, his eyes lighting up with realization. "Got it. I just need a direct line to its core." "How are you supposed to do that while it's trying to kill us?" Samara demanded, firing another shot to keep the construct at bay. "We'll distract it," Juno said, her voice firm. She turned to Roan. "You and I will draw its attention. Vex and Hallie, find a way to access the core. Samara, cover them." Roan grinned despite the danger, gripping his rifle tightly. "Sounds like a plan." The gatekeeper roared as Juno and Roan charged toward it, their weapons blazing. Plasma rounds struck its limbs and torso, drawing its attention away from the others. It retaliated with a series of rapid, sweeping strikes, its massive appendages carving through the air with deadly precision. "Keep moving!" Juno shouted, dodging a strike that narrowly missed her. She fired at one of the construct's glowing joints, the impact sending a shower of sparks into the air. Roan flanked the construct, his grenades exploding against its armor in flashes of light and heat. "Come on, you oversized tin can! You want to fight? Let's go!" Meanwhile, Vex and Hallie sprinted toward the base of the construct, taking cover behind a massive support pillar. Vex studied the glowing patterns on the construct's underbelly, his scanner beeping frantically as it identified a small access port. "There!" Vex pointed, his heart racing. "That's the core interface. If I can connect the override, we can shut this thing down." Hallie nodded, her sharp mind already anticipating the challenge. "I'll keep the interface stable. You handle the override." The two of them moved as one, ducking and weaving through the chaos as the construct's attacks rained down around them. Samara provided cover fire, her shots keeping the construct's smaller, automated defenses at bay. "Watch out!" Samara shouted as a smaller drone emerged from the construct's body, its plasma cannon charging. Hallie didn't hesitate. She grabbed a makeshift EMP device from her pack and hurled it at the drone. The device detonated in midair, sending a pulse of energy that fried the drone's circuits and sent it crashing to the ground. "Thanks!" Vex called out, his voice strained as he worked to connect the override to the core interface. Sparks flew as he bypassed the alien systems, his hands moving with frantic precision. The construct let out a deafening roar, its movements growing more erratic as Juno and Roan continued their assault. Its glowing limbs swung wildly, smashing into the chamber walls and sending shards of debris flying in all directions. "This thing's not happy!" Roan shouted, narrowly avoiding another strike. "How much longer, Vex?" "Almost there," Vex replied, sweat dripping down his face. "Just keep it distracted." Juno's rifle clicked as her magazine ran empty. She cursed under her breath, reloading quickly as the construct turned its attention toward her. Its massive limbs glowed brightly, preparing to unleash another devastating energy burst. Not today, Juno muttered, firing a precise shot at the construct's eye. The impact caused it to flinch, the energy burst veering off course and striking the chamber ceiling instead. Roan took advantage of the opening, launching a grenade directly at the construct's core. The explosion sent a shockwave through the chamber, momentarily destabilizing the massive machine. Now, Vex! Halley shouted. Do it! Vex slammed the override device into the core interface, his fingers flying across the control panel. The construct let out a mechanical screech as its limbs spasmed, the glow of its body flickering erratically. It's working! Vex shouted, his voice filled with exhilaration. The override's destabilizing its systems. The construct staggered, its massive frame collapsing to one knee as its energy output faltered. Juno and Roan retreated to a safe distance, watching as the gatekeeper's movements grew weaker and more uncoordinated. Everyone, get clear! Vex warned. This thing's going critical! The team sprinted toward the far end of the chamber as the construct let out one final, deafening roar. Its core erupted in a blinding explosion of light and energy, the force of the blast shaking the entire labyrinth. When the dust settled, the team stood at the edge of the chamber, their breaths heavy and their bodies battered but unbroken. The gatekeeper was gone, its remains scattered across the floor like shattered glass. Juno turned to her team, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. Is everyone okay? Alive, Samara said, her tone relieved. Barely, but alive. That was insane, Vex muttered, collapsing onto a nearby rock. But we did it. Halley nodded, her expression a mixture of relief and disbelief. We passed the final test. The chamber began to shift, the walls glowing with a soft, golden light. A passageway opened before them, leading to a platform that rose toward the surface. The mechanical voice returned, its tone now devoid of malice. You have proven your worth. Humanity stands among the worthy. Go now, and carry the burden of this victory. The team stepped onto the platform, their hearts heavy with the weight of what they had achieved. As they ascended toward the surface, the distant roar of the arena crowd grew louder, a reminder of the eyes that had been watching their every move.